Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
The content in this video is for informational purposes only. I do not encourage or condone the consumption of illicit substances for casual or recreational use.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any other person or group of people. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of any group of people, person, or fanbase or its members. This video and the presentation of material therein do not imply the expression of any opinion other than mine.
Hello and welcome to this video. This is the second installment of... Knocked my headphones off my stand. This is the second installment of my deep dive into Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Today we're going to be looking at side 2. Then I've decided what I'm going to do is a third installment in which I go over like trivialities, cover artwork, inner sleeves, stuff like that. And also the fake mustache song, which in itself probably deserves its own video simply because of the brilliance of the Beatles when they did the way they hid this and disguised it in the efforts they went through, and it's worth it because it's something that they started playing with on the Revolver album, excuse me, and they played with it. They had fun with it. They weren't trying to send messages or anything, scandalous or anything. It was just playing with the new technology, the 8-track technology that was coming out at this time. So yeah, so with all that being said, let's get into it. The first song on side 2 is Within You, Without You. My interpretation of this song is we're taking a break from the main narrative of the story. We've done the entire first act, the big act, and we're taking a few moments to get a little philosophical, a little bit, in touch, relating to the audience, relating to, a little bit of spiritualism and things like that. The first stanza of the song starts out, we were talking about the space between us all, and the people who hide themselves behind a wall of illusion never glimpse the truth, then it's far too late when they pass away. We are talking about the love we all could share. We find it to try our best and hold it there with our love. With our love, we could save the world if they only knew. To me, this is our narrator, Billy Shears, taking a moment to pause to express to the crowd, us, we're sitting in our auditorium, remember, and he's talking to us. There's this gap between the stage and the audience, space between us all. And the people, the band, Sgt. Pepper's Band, are hiding behind the illusion of being this band. And it could also be a reference to the Beatles themselves hiding behind Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, that illusion. You never glimpse the truth, which means you never see who they really are because of their persona, their presence, the manufactured media, the stuff to make them look good. We really don't glimpse who they truly are. Then it's far too late when they pass away. Going back to the never glimpse the truth, there are people that we all know, that are friends with, we interact with on a fairly regular basis, that we don't actually know who and what they are truly. And we don't find out. And when we do find out, it's too late because they've passed away. Now, in the context of this, to use a term that is YouTube acceptable, when they pass away, is a reference to being unalive. Your friend from high school, your first girlfriend, your father, your mother, people, when they become unalive, things come out that they had kept secret, that you never had a glimpse of the truth. Now we get into, we were talking about the love we could all share. And this is a platonic love, the love for your fellow man, your fellow woman, your love for your fellow human beings, love for nature, love for, the world around you as a whole. That we could share it, but we don't. Then the next line, when we find it, to try our best to hold it there with our love. When we find these things, we find the beauties of nature, we find the beauties within our fellow human beings, other animals, dogs, cats, chickens, peacocks, squirrels, rabbits. Instead of sharing it, we want to hold it. We want to hold it tight. We want to love it ourselves. Then the last line of the first stanza is, with our love, we could save the world if they only knew. Which is basically saying that if we share this love, share this knowledge that we have of the beauty of, say, chickens, or the beauty of the person that lives down the street, or the beauty of a grove of trees, if we share this and we accept people into it and we share it, that we could save the world. Moving on to the second stanza, try to release, it's all within yourself. No one else can make you change. And to see you're really only very small, and life flows on within you and without you. This is for me, this is a fairly powerful stanza, because he's reinforcing the first stanza. When you release this love you've been holding on to, you've been keeping it, holding it tight, you release it, you share it. That no one else can make you change. No one can make you do this. No one can make you share your love. You have to do it of your own volition, your own free will. That's the only way this is going to work. And to see you're really only very small. This this line specifically relates to, or in my opinion, mind you, all these videos are my opinion, is very, very much how things relate to, in say, the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the Psychedelic Experience by Timothy Leary. Or Timothy Leary is the big name. It was actually 3 authors who I don't have handy. One of the 3 authors was Richard Albert, who journeyed to India, adopted Indian philosophy, and changed his name to Ram Dass. But back to the line, and to see you're really only small comes from basically the like I said, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Psychedelic Experience, because part of ego death is accepting that you are simply a grain of sand on the beach of the cosmos. You're very small. The universe doesn't give a damn about you. It doesn't care. You're just very small, minute. I mean, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you could go as far as to say that you're a molecule on a grain of sand on the cosmic beach. I mean, you talk about feeling insignificant. If you have an unfettered, untamed ego, talk about how disheartening that could be, how incredibly intimidating the concept of being a single molecule on a single grain of sand on a cosmic beach. Especially in American society, the inability to accept you're not the center of the universe. I mean, especially in Texas, Texans, to a certain degree, honestly believe they're the center of the fucking universe. It's just part of the mystique and thing, part of the Wild West, being ingrained in cowboy movies and the mythos surrounding Texas. And America, to a certain degree, is the same way. Actually, to a very large degree, is the same way. And the last line of the second stanza is, "And life flows on within you and without you." Meaning that the ebb and flow of existence, life, trees, mushrooms, plants, flowers, chickens, cats, dogs, they're a part of you. We're all space dust. The life flows within you while you're alive. You're alive. That's your life. And without you, once you die, life isn't going to stop. Simply because you have become unalive, life does not stop. It continues. It's going to pursue. The world was here with life on it billions of years before you were born. And it's going to probably have some kind of life on it billions of years after you die, after I die. You know, that stands in itself of the whole song is the one that stands out to me the most. It's the most powerful stanza in that song for me. For you, it may be different. Now we get to the fourth stanza. We were talking about the love that's gone so cold, and the people who gain the world and lose their soul. They didn't know, they can't see. Are you one of them? Now, what my interpretation of this is, at this point, Billy Shears is telling you, without people with unchecked egos, unbalanced egos, soft egos, weak egos, the love leaves them. Love leaves them because they're cold, they're calculating, they're manipulative. And the second line asks the same age-old question that goes all the way back to the Bible. And the people who gain the world and lose their soul. I mean, mind you, the wording's been played with since the Bible quote, but it is. What have you accomplished if you gain the world but you lose your soul? That's one of the great cosmic questions. Then he goes on to tell us they didn't know, they can't see. Next, the third and fourth line is they didn't know, they can't see. They don't understand. They don't have any knowledge of love and compassion and the ability to love without certain things in place. I can't. The word is escaping me. Without condition, to love without condition, unconditional love. Then he asks, and I take it to be a rhetorical question, are you one of them? Are you one of these people that is narcissistic, is self-deluded, self-involved? Are you one of them? Are you one of us? Is the unspoken part of that question. Then we get into the last stanza. When you've seen beyond yourself, then you may find people of mind is waiting. Peace of mind is waiting there. I gotta learn how to read. Peace of mind is waiting there. And the time will come when you see we're all one and life flows within you and without you. This too is straight out of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It's straight out of the psychedelic experience. That once you start accepting these things, you start accepting your smallness in the world, in the universe, not just the world, the universe. The small impact. When you grow beyond yourself, when you've seen beyond yourself, when you understand that we are simply parts of the whole. We are not the whole of anything. We are simply one little blue-green ball in this whole vast universe that's billions and trillions of light years in size. You know? And basically what he's saying is once you accept this, that you'll have peace of mind. And on a side tangent, there's a song by the Indigo Girls called Closer to Fine, which echoes a lot of these same themes. It's a really good song. I'll try to remember to put a link to the song in the description. But I would suggest look up the lyrics for Closer to Fine, F-I-N-E, by the Indigo Girls, and read the lyrics. And it's basically the same thing with cat interruptions, or without cat interruptions, as basically it's the same. It's trying to convey the same message that this song is. And the time will come when you see we're all one. Through meditation, it is my understanding from things I've read and people I've talked to, that a lot of your Hindu mystics will induce a hallucinatory state through fasting and meditation. And all that LSD or psilocybin does is increase the process, speeds the process up, which I have to agree with some of the Hindu mystics, Buddhist mystics that I've read and listened to, that it kind of defeats the use of hallucinogenic drugs as your sole way of attaining a hallucinatory state. Kind of cheats the process. You don't go through the cleansing of your body through fasting or eating a very vegetable-based diet. You know, chickpeas, corn, rice, stuff like that. A very non-meat diet. And eating very little, just enough to sustain life. The cleansing and stuff like that. And I do there is to a certain degree that the cleansing process helps in the process. And of course we get back to the final refrain, the final line, which is the refrain, and life flows within you and without you. At this point, Billy Shears is trying to convey the acceptance of your death. You're going to die. I'm going to die. We're all going to die. And that life is going on. At this point, it is an acceptance. It is Billy Shears at this point is taking the time, pausing his story about this, this cosmic, or he's pausing the story of this mystery girl he's been chasing, the girl with kaleidoscope eyes. And so he's communicating directly to the audience outside of his story. He's taking a moment. He's relaxing, calming the mind, kind of an intermission, start of the second act per se. Then we move on to our next song, When I'm 64. Which he's jumping back into his story. My interpretation of the song is Billy Shears is proposing marriage to the girl with kaleidoscope eyes. And this is his way of doing it. The first stanza reads, "When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine, birthday greetings, bottle of wine?" He's asking her, you know, if we do this thing when I'm old, will you still love me? Will you still give me a Valentine's on Valentine's Day? Will you give me birthday greeting? Will you give me a bottle of wine? He's asking these things of his potential bride. The second stanza is, if I'd been out to 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? He's asking his potential bride that will, you know, if I'm out with the guys, you know, to 2:45 doing, you know, guy things, will you lock the door on me? Will you lock me out? And he asks, will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? He's asking, you know, when I become old, decrepit, if I get bedridden, or what have you, will you still take care of me? Then we jump into the third verse. You'll be older too, and if you say the word, I could stay with you. Basically telling her, look, we're going to get old. And if you tell me now, you tell me yes, I will be with you. I will be with you as you grow old. Then we get into the next stanza. I could be handy mending a fuse when your lights have gone. You can knit me a sweater by the fireside. Sunday mornings go for a ride. Doing the garden, digging the weeds. Who could ask for more? Basically, he's saying, you know, this is what I can do around the house. This is what you can do around the house. This is what we can do around the house. That we can go on rides on Sunday mornings. We could work in the garden. You know, I can, if a fuse blows, I can go fix the fuse. And, you know, he's laying out his case for her to marry him. Will you still, then we go to the chorus or the bridge. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Once again, reiterating the question. When I'm older, whatever happens to me, will you still be there for me? And the next stanza is, every summer we can rent a cottage in the Isle of Wight. If it's not too dear, we shall scrimp and save, grandchildren on your knees, Vera, Chuck, and Dave. Basically what he's saying is, we can, you know, on summer break or summer vacation, we can go rent a cottage, you know, in the Isle of Wight. If it's not too costly, if it doesn't cost too much. We can also scrimp and save our pennies to do stuff when we're older. And we'll have grandchildren, you know, we'll have kids and grandkids. I think the names Vera, Chuck, and Dave are just random names that fit with the lyric and the thing. So I tend not to look too deeply at the names that is given in this song. And I think that they just go with the cadence, the Vera, Chuck, and Dave with the song. You'd have to listen to the song. Unfortunately, Apple Records is real quick on lawsuits, so we're kind of doing it this way. I found that out on the first video of when I did the first side of the album. So yeah, that's the reason why we get the boring reading. Now to the next to last stanza. We have, send me a postcard, drop me a line, stating point of view. Indicate precisely what you mean to say. You're sincerely wasting away. Basically, what he's asking for is an answer to his marriage proposal. He's not saying you have to answer right now, but we could probably make it, a little bit quicker, because you're sincerely I'm wasting away without knowing how you stand, how you want, what you want. Now, the last stanza is, give me your answer, fill in a form, mine forevermore. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? Basically, this is the give me your answer, which we assume at this point is yes. Fill out a form, go down, get a marriage license, do all the paperwork. Mine forevermore, meaning death do we part. And it goes on to, and you go back to the refrain or the bridge or the chorus, however you want to call it. Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? It's this, here I am. This is what we're doing. I am pledging my love to you. Now we get into the next song. I am sorry about that. I skipped a tab. I knew that seemed like a bit of a jump. The next song is not Good Morning, Good Morning. It is Lovely Rita. The interpretation I get from this song is we have our marriage proposal, and now we're getting into the non-LSD version of the growth kaleidoscope eyes. We get into we find out her name, Rita. This is basically how they met sober. They've gotten married, and he's going back and telling us, the audience, him meeting her. It starts with the chorus of Lovely Rita, meter maid, lovely Rita, meter maid. Then we jump into the first stanza, first verse of Lovely Rita, meter maid. Nothing can come between us. When it gets dark, I tow your heavy heart away. Basically, he saw her, was infatuated with her while on LSD. Then he gets to know her outside it. He finds out that she's a meter maid. She's the one that walks up and down the street, and if the parking meter's expired, she gives you a ticket. And he is pledging to, when you're sad, depressed, feeling out of sorts, that he would tow the heavy heart away. The next verse is, standing by a parking meter when I caught a glimpse of Rita, filling in the ticket in her little white book. In a cap, she looked much older, and the bag across the shoulder made her look like a military man. He's just evidently, Billy has a thing for women in uniform. He's basically just describing this beautiful woman dressed smartly, doing her job efficiently. Our next verse, lovely Rita, meter maid, may I inquire directly, when are you free to take some tea with me, lovely Rita, meter maid? Basically what he's doing is he's asking her out on a date. Hey, when you're free, can we go get some tea, maybe some dinner, some crumpets? Who knows? Then you have the next stanza or verse, which is one word, Rita. And then we get down and we have, took her out and tried to win her, had a laugh over dinner. It means she agreed to go out with him. Told her I'd really like to see her again. Got the bill and Rita paid it. This is interesting from the standpoint of, at the time in 1960s in the Western world, women didn't pay. Generally, it was the social norm, the tradition, for men to pay for the dinner or what have you. Got the bill and Rita paid it, meaning that he was open to feminism, open to equal rights, and was appreciative, was accepting and encouraging of her agency as a woman. Took her home, nearly made it, sitting on the sofa with a sister or two. Basically, go back to her house. This is obviously taking place before the song She's Leaving Home. She was hot and bothered. He was hot and bothered. They got back to her place. Almost got to making it. And wound up trapped on a sofa watching TV with one or two of her sisters. Then it goes to the final stanza of, oh lovely Rita, meter maid, where would I be without you? Give us a wink and make me think of you. Basically, he's just going back to the her beauty, how he's infatuated, how he enjoys being with her, being around her. Like I said, we learned her name was Rita. She worked as a meter maid, which when she wasn't doing the hippie LSD thing. So, yeah. But like I said, this is my interpretation of the song. If you have any other interpretations of any of the songs off any of the videos, please leave them in the comments. That's cool. I enjoy exposure to different ideas, thoughts, and stuff like that. So, before we move into good morning, give me some good old coffee in the system, so I don't make the mistake of skipping cabs again. Now we're going to get into good morning, good morning. This song in my brain takes place a substantial time jump, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. The song opens up with the chorus of good morning, good morning, good morning. Then we jump into the first stanza. Good morning, ah. Nothing to do to save his life, call his wife in. Nothing to say, but what a day, how's your boy been? Basically, there was something happened. Heart attack, accident, something. And the doctors don't think they can save his life. So they're calling his wife, calling, the doctors, inquiring about, how's your boy, how's your son, specifically your boy. And we go into the next verse is nothing to do, it's up to you. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. The doctor is basically telling him, look, it's up to you. Or it can be interpreted as the wife saying there's nothing to do, it's up to you. You're the doctor, you're the one doing this. Or it's the doctor telling the wife, look, nothing I can do, it's up to you. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Basically insinuating that her presence, her love, what have you, is what he needs. He needs that love. There's medically, scientifically, there's nothing else that can be done. And then we have good morning, good morning, good morning, going to work, didn't want to go, feeling low down. Now, I interpret this as whatever the first bit of the song was about, that the husband recovered. He's not feeling up, he's probably depressed. Just kind of bummed out. Life has become stale. He's moved beyond the LSD, hippie, courting, making, having a wife. He's burned out. Heading home, you start to roam, then you're in town. He's bored. He's bored with what his life's become. Everyone knows there's nothing doing, meaning it's boring. He's left work, he's finished another day. He's just frustrated that he's lost all of this spontaneity, this adventure, this gypsy, lifestyle. He's settled down, he's become part of the establishment. The next verse is, everything's closed, it's like a ruin. Everyone you see is half asleep. That can be a reference to, referring back to normies, squares, people that follow blindly, people that have forsaken their own free will. And you're on your own, you're in the street. After a while, you start to smile. Now you feel cool. I take this as he stumbled across somebody dealing in mushrooms or LSD or something, ketamine, dimethyltryptamine, and he indulges to break the monotony. And he's starting to feel better. He's starting to see things. He says, then you decide to take a walk by the old school. Nothing has changed. It's still the same. So he's in the process of experiencing, after a long extended period of time, this euphoria, this sense of being with the universe. And so he decides to go back past the school that we learned earlier on the first side wasn't cool, and they treated him as, you know, his teachers were cruel. But it's the same. It's still the same. It hasn't changed. Then we get the, I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. He's like, yeah, it hasn't changed. I have no opinion, but it's cool. And the rest is good morning, good morning, good morning. And as he's succumbing or getting high, tripping, people are running around. It's 5 o'clock. Everyone in town is getting dark. Everyone you see is full of life. He's once again in a euphoric state on a psychoactive substance of some kind. And he's starting to see the color, the life, the beauty of being alive. And then it goes on to say, it's time for tea and to meet the wife. Somebody needs to know the time. Glad that I'm here. Watching the skirts and start the flirt. You're in gear. Go to the show. You hope she goes. I've got nothing to say, but it's okay. Then we get a long thing of good morning, good morning, good morning, all the way to the song fades out. But this last stanza is important. Basically what has happened is he's indulged in this substance, the unknown substance at this time, probably LSD. That's just a guess on my part. And he's he finds himself in a crowd watching the skirts. I mean, he's high, he's flirting with women, and he invites one of these women that's not his wife to go to a movie with him. Go to a show, hope she goes. I've got nothing to say. The inference there is, or the inference that I get, or the meaning behind that is, he basically just walked out on his wife and kid. He got high, fell into the trap of nostalgia, found a cute, pretty young girl, and he's left his wife. Left his wife and his kid. Which brings me to, I've alluded in the introduction and in the first the video that covers the first side of, well, I haven't alluded to it, I've straight out stated it, that in a lot of ways this parallels John Lennon and Cynthia Lennon's marriage. Because when John Lennon left Cynthia Lennon for Yoko Ono, it was that abrupt. Now, the the whole, I don't think the parallel is intentional. I don't think in any way it was meant to be intentional. I think it just played out that way within the story narrative of this, because you're talking about four guys that have spent more time together than any four guys should probably spend together. From 1960, I think 62 or 63, the final version of the Beatles that we know today, John, Paul, George, Ringo, coalesced. And they've been together for, 4 or 5 years at this point. This came out late 66, early 67. I want to say early 67 because I believe Lennon and Yoko hooked up in 66. But I think what it is these guys had spent so much time in the studio together that they were on, and with their experimentation with LSD and marijuana, psilocybin, and other drugs, with their exploration into Hindu mysticism, more than likely going through proper ritualistic fasting and meditation, that these guys were, that the four Beatles knew things about each other that like Paul, George, and Ringo knew things about John that John didn't know about himself. And all through, any one Beatle knew less about himself than what the other three Beatles knew. And I think this just played out that way because they were feeding off this link with each other. And like I said, I do not think it was a deliberate thing. I think it's one of those things because they were on this wavelength and had spent so much time together that it found its way into the song, into this album organically. I don't think it was any planned thing. I don't think it was any anything conscious. I don't think it was consciously done. I think it just worked itself out as the natural course of Billy Shear's story. It's just how, when they put it together, everything that was going on, because every song that every singer has ever sung has a reason why they chose those words, formed those lyrics, not lyrics, and there's a meaning to them. And Lennon said in the documentary Imagine that Yoko Ono put out in the 90s, there's a video clip of John Lennon talking to this homeless guy that basically snuck onto his property because of the homeless guy's personal interpretation of the song. And Lennon explains to him, like, look, your interpretation of this song is valid. That's what it means to you because of the life you've lived. But the reason why I wrote the song and the meaning that it has for me, and he explains it. And he invites the guy in, they have a meal, and, it's interesting, that so yeah, at this point, I'm thinking it just organically happened. Like I said, I don't think it was any one Beatle or any group of Beatles trying to send a message or anything. Then from here, we jump into the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club band reprise, which is basically closing out the song, closing out Billy Shear's story. And basically, it's the band telling us, it's been a great show. We loved having you, but we got to go. You know, the show's over. I couldn't find the lyrics for the reprise, and because of the whole copyright thing, I'm not going to play the song because I want you to enjoy this video, to see this video. So now, the very last song on the album is A Day in the Life. And oh boy, this song, I think, is kind of a red herring. The song in itself, it's its own thing. And I think this was kind of put here at where it was put at after the reprise to just screw with us, the consumer, imbibing. I learned how to talk. Imbibing this album, this kind of red herring. Just put it on. We need another song. We'll throw this song on. Or this can be an epilogue. This could be Billy Shear's 10, 20, years down the road after the events of the story. So let's get on to the first stanza. The first stanza starts out, I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh, trying to not sneeze. I saw the photograph. So, he's reading the paper. There's a photograph of somebody who's made the grade, who's become a celebrity, become popular, what have you. And the singer of the song, let's say for continuity's sake that this is Billy Shear's a decade after his story has ended, a decade after the whole Sgt. Pepper thing has ended. He said, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He recognizes the person. He knows the person. We go on the second stanza. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the lights changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before, but nobody was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. Okay, this coincides with a car accident. I don't have the name of the person handy, but there's a suggestion. You can look it up and Google it. That this stanza is referring to the person who was the first person to give, sell, share, whatever, hallucinogenic drugs with the Beatles, who coincidentally was driving while intoxicated on LSD, ran a red light, was T-boned and killed. And this person was a fairly popular person, and no one could play. They knew him, but they didn't know why they knew him or where they knew him. Then we go on to our third stanza. I saw a film, oh boy. The English army had just won the war. A crowd of people turned away, but I just had to look, having read the book. I'd love to turn you on. Okay, we're going to start with this last line, then jump back and work our way through the stanza. I'd love to turn you on is not a sexual reference. At that particular time, and in conjunction with the way it was used, well, the context of the whole thing, but the context is more along the lines of enlighten you, share information with you, turn you on to something. Just the way it was used in the vernacular then. And we jump back. I saw the film today. Oh boy. The English Army had just won the war. English Army was crucial in the winning of the Second World War. The Beatles were all boomers, all post-World War II babies. And at that, and even to a certain degree into the 60s, I believe I was reading once that a lot of news, you had your movie time newsreels, which would play before the movie started. A crowd of people turned away, meaning, I take that to mean whatever images were being shown or whatever were so ghastly, horrifying, maybe pictures of film from concentration camps and stuff like that. But our singer is saying, I had to look, but I had to see this. I had to look at this, having read the book, having read about World War II and the atrocities that humans put other humans through. I'd love to turn you on. It's like, I'd love to share this information with you. I'd love to see you how, to share this with you, to illuminate you. We go into the next stanza. Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Almost started singing there. Can't do that. Found my way downstairs to drink a cup. Looking up, I noticed I was late. Found my coat, grabbed my hat, made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke. Somebody spoke and I went into a dream. That stanza alone is its own thing. Okay, woke up, got out of bed, got dressed, dragged a comb, combed his hair, got dressed, went downstairs, drank a cup, probably of coffee or tea. Being English, there's no telling. Looking up, he noticed he was late for work. He grabbed his coat, grabbed his hat, English weather, English weather. Made it to the bus stop just barely in time. Double-decker bus. Went on the bus, went upstairs, lit a cigarette, which into the early 1990s, stuff like that was common. You had smoking areas in restaurants. People smoked at the grocery store. So yeah, that was common. And somebody spoke and I went into a dream, which tends to indicate that what he was smoking wasn't tobacco. So that, like I said, that whole stanza is its own story. Then we go back, our singer's at work or whatever. picks up a newspaper, and we go into the last stanza of the song. It says, I read the news today, oh boy, 4,000 holes in Blackbird, Lancashire, and though the holes were very small, rather small, they had to count them all. Now they know how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall. I love to turn you on. This stanza to itself, once again, in and of itself, is its own thing. It's a standalone. Our singer is at work. He picks up a book, reads it. Now, the interpretation of 4,000 holes, okay, in Blackburn, Lancashire, can be referring to the people that live there. It is my understanding that at that particular time, that was a fairly high-end neighborhood, high-end part of town. And the holes they're referring to are anuses, referring to people as not people, but anus holes, or assholes. And although the holes were rather small, meaning that they were small in mind, small in thought, small, just small people. Not physically, but mentally, socially. They had to count them all. Census. It's a census. Now they know how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall. How many people can fit into the Albert Hall at this particular time? Could have been 4,000. Could have been a little bit more, a little bit less. I don't know. I couldn't find anything because I tried to look it up. So then the last line is, I love to turn you on. I love to share this information with you. I want you to have this information. So that is all 13 tracks of the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as I interpret it, as I see it. If you have any different interpretations, maybe something you see that I don't see, and you want to express it in the comments, go ahead, feel free. All I ask is just be tactful about it. Don't deal in absolutes, because I can say that this is my interpretation, how I see it, how I want it, or how my brain puts it together, how I see how I want the story to go. It's totally personal opinion. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's not the definitive be-all interpretation of this album. It is simply how I see it through growing up with this, listening to this album, life experience, things that I've seen myself, things I've done myself, things I've put into my body myself. And it is just one of those things. I hope you enjoyed these videos. The next video I do is going to be kind of a fun, lighthearted video. It's going to look at the nostalgia, the fun things about the album, the little things on the album cover, the little things on the insert, just all these things. It's not going to be as philosophical or as spiritual or as in depth or as heavy as these last two videos were. So Until next time, have fun, be safe, peace.